It hit her all at once, like a sudden warm light cutting through a long, cold night, when Vela discovered the truth about the quiet stranger who always seemed to appear right when life slipped out of balance. She never thought anyone had been watching over her. Not in a protective way, not in a gentle way, not in a way that felt like destiny leaning close. Yet there he was, every time. And she had never even known his name. Vela's life had been a patchwork of small, lingering heartbreaks, little things that piled up until they felt like one long ache she carried in her chest. She worked late shifts at the signal station on the northern ridge, monitoring the comet trails that streaked across the sky above her town. It was quiet work, lonely work, the kind that left a person with too many thoughts and too few people to share them with. Most nights, she walked home beneath the starlight, letting the cool air soothe her tired mind. That evening, though, the wind felt different, flickering with a soft static, almost like the air itself was trying to whisper something. That was when she first sensed she wasn't alone. A tall figure stood down the hill, half-shadowed, still as carved stone. Normally, she would have hurried past, but something about him, something unspoken, held her in place. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched the sky, as if listening for a message written in the stars. When she blinked, he was gone. Vela tried to convince herself she imagined him. Maybe she was tired. Maybe it was just the silhouette of a street lamp or a drifting cloud. But deep inside, a gentle prickle of curiosity stayed with her. The next morning at the station, she noticed traces of unusual readings along the outer grid, signals that didn't match any meteor activity. They flickered in patterns, soft and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Vela leaned closer to her screen, fascinated. She pressed her fingers to the glass, half convinced the pulses were responding to her touch. As the hours passed, she couldn't shake the feeling that the strange figure from the night before was connected to it all. By early evening, the grid lights dimmed unexpectedly. Power fluctuations swept through the station, forcing her to reset the scanners manually. She grabbed her coat and stepped outside, hoping the fresh air would clear her thoughts. And that was when she heard it. A low hum, warm and steady, rising from the field behind the station. She turned slowly, her breath catching. A soft glow flickered in the tall grass, pulsing in the same rhythm she had seen on her screens. She took one hesitant step forward. Then another. The glow brightened, revealing a subtle shimmer, like a veil between worlds being held open by unseen hands. And standing right at its edge was the same quiet stranger. He lifted his eyes to hers, and something inside her softened instantly. She didn't feel afraid. She didn't feel threatened. Instead, she felt recognized, as if this moment had been waiting for her long before she ever knew to expect it. The stranger's voice, when it finally broke the silence, was barely above a whisper. "You're safe," he murmured. "I've been making sure of it." Her heart tightened, confused and moved all at once. "Why?" she breathed. "Why me?" The glow around him flickered gently, almost like it was responding to their conversation. He took a slow step forward, though he stayed a respectful distance away. "You'll understand soon," he said softly. But not yet. Before she could ask anything more, the shimmer collapsed inward, like a quick breath being pulled away. The field fell dark, the hum disappeared, and he vanished again, leaving only the fading warmth of his presence lingering in the air. Vela stood alone beneath the vast sky, trembling, not with fear, but with the overwhelming sense that her life had just shifted in a way she couldn't name. For the first time in a long while, she felt the spark of something new beginning to bloom inside her. Hope, and a strange, unshakable certainty that whoever he was, he had never really been a stranger at all. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Vela didn't sleep that night, not because she was frightened, but because her mind replayed the moment over and over again. The glow, the gentle hum, and the stranger's voice carrying a warmth she hadn't felt in years. By morning, the world looked the same, yet she felt different walking through it, as if some invisible thread now pulled at her heart, woven from the stranger's brief words. At the station, the others went about their quiet routines, unaware of anything unusual. Vela tried to act normal, but her thoughts drifted constantly, searching for answers she didn't know how to ask. When she logged into the grid, her scanners showed no strange pulses, no rhythmic lights, nothing. Almost as if the night before had been nothing more than a dream. But she knew better. She stepped outside during her break and looked toward the northern field, half expecting to see another flicker of light. Only soft morning clouds drifted across the sky. "Who are you?" she whispered to the empty air. "And why me?" The breeze rustled through the grass, offering no reply. That evening, after her shift ended, Vela walked the long path home with her coat wrapped tight around her. The sky shimmered with comet dust drifting far above the ridge. It was beautiful, yet it felt lonelier than usual. She stopped near a small footbridge and breathed in slowly, trying to calm the swirl of emotion inside her. That was when she sensed it again. A subtle warmth. A presence. Not frightening. Not intrusive. Just there. She turned quickly, her heart leaping, and nearly stumbled when she saw him standing a few paces away. The same quiet stranger, tall, composed, calm, his eyes reflecting the faint glimmer of starlight. He didn't step closer. He simply waited, as if allowing her to choose whether to approach. This, more than anything, eased her fear. "You keep appearing," Vela said softly, gathering her courage. "I don't know your name." He hesitated before speaking, as though deciding how much truth he could offer. "My name is Kalen." It fit him somehow, gentle, unusual, a little otherworldly. "Why have you been watching over me?" she asked. Kalen's expression shifted, not with guilt or secrecy, but with something like quiet duty, or perhaps longing. "There are things moving around this town," he said slowly. "Things you cannot see, and you stand closer to them than anyone." Vela felt a soft tremor in her chest. "Closer? How?" He glanced up at the sky, the same sky she spent her night studying. "You pick up patterns others overlook," he said. "You notice things most would miss. That draws attention. Not all of it good." Her breath caught. "So you're protecting me?" His silence was answer enough. But something still didn't make sense. "Why me?" she whispered again. "I'm nobody special." Kalen's gaze softened in a way that stole the air from her lungs. "You are far more important than you realize." Emotion welled unexpectedly behind her eyes. She turned slightly, needing a moment to regain her composure. When she looked back, Kalen had shifted his stance, almost as if he wanted to help her, but didn't dare move without permission. The world felt fragile between them. "Will you tell me what's really happening?" she asked. "I will," he said quietly, "but not tonight. You're not ready yet, and neither am I." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but the sincerity in his voice kept her from pushing further. A soft hum suddenly rippled through the air around them, the same tone she'd heard in the field the night before. Kalen's expression tightened slightly, as if he sensed something approaching. His eyes moved past her shoulder, scanning the darkened trees. "I have to go," he murmured. Vela stepped toward him before she fully realized she was doing it. "Will I see you again?" Kalen met her gaze, and something deep, quiet, and unspoken passed between them. "You will," he said, "but things may change before then. Be careful, Vela." The hum intensified for a brief moment, surrounding him like a shimmering veil. Then the glow swallowed him again, leaving the bridge empty beneath the starlit sky. Vela stood motionless, her heart aching with the weight of unanswered questions. But one thing was certain. Whatever Kalen was protecting her from, it had just come closer. Vela woke before dawn, long before her alarm, with a heaviness in her chest she couldn't explain. The world outside her window was still wrapped in that bluish quiet that comes just before sunrise, yet she sensed movement, some subtle shift, like the air itself was waiting. She sat on the edge of her bed, rubbing her palms together as if trying to warm something deeper than her hands. Her mind drifted back to Kalen's last words. Things may change before then. What did that mean? What was getting closer? She had seen strange readings for weeks, but they were nothing more than faint blips on her radar, signals she thought were harmless anomalies from distant storms. Now she wondered if she had misunderstood everything. When she arrived at the station, she noticed the other operators moving with unusual chatter. A few of them clustered around the main screens, whispering with unsettled faces. Vela felt her stomach tense. What's going on? One of her coworkers looked up, eyes wide with a mix of confusion and excitement. There was a spike in the outer grid just before dawn, a massive one, nothing like we've ever logged. Vela stepped closer, her breath catching. The pulses showed wave patterns, soft, rhythmic, almost identical to the one she had seen days earlier, but amplified tenfold. The pulses stretched across the ridge like rippling water. Her heartbeat quickened. If Kalen had been responding to these signals, what did a spike this size mean? During her break, Vela slipped outside and scanned the horizon. The northern ridge seemed calm, almost serene, but something about the stillness felt deceptive. She touched the railing beside her, grounding herself. "Kalen, where are you?" That evening, after her shift ended, she didn't go straight home. Instead, she followed the narrow path that wound toward the field where she first encountered the glowing veil. Her footsteps were slow, cautious, guided by instinct more than logic. As she reached the grassy clearing, a shiver ran through her. The air hummed faintly, so faint she wasn't sure she heard anything at all, but the feeling was unmistakable. "She wasn't alone." "Kalen?" she whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hum grew warmer, steadier, rising from the ground like a heartbeat awakening. A soft shimmer rippled through the space ahead. And he stepped out of it. His presence eased something inside her in an instant, as if the world exhaled the moment he appeared. But this time, Kalen didn't look calm. His expression was taut, worried, carrying a weight she hadn't seen before. "You came," he said, quietly. "I had to." Her voice trembled despite her effort to steady it. "Something's happening, isn't it?" He nodded. "There's been a breach." "A breach of what?" Kalen looked toward the ridge, eyes narrowing as though searching for shapes hidden from ordinary sight. There are disturbances forming between our worlds, thin places where energy leaks through. You've been sensing them for weeks. You just didn't know what they were. Vela swallowed hard. And the spike this morning? That was a tear. His voice softened, weighed by concern. One large enough for something to cross. Fear brushed the edges of her heart, but she forced herself to breathe. What crossed? Kaylin hesitated. Not a person, not a being, more like a force, an echo of something old and restless. It reacts to energy, especially to those who can feel its presence. Her pulse quickened. Feel it? Like I do? Yes. He stepped closer, though still keeping a respectful distance. That's why I've been watching over you. You're connected to these signals in a way you don't yet understand. Vela's breath shook. So, I'm attracting it? Not by choice, Kaylin said gently. But yes, it senses you. Her mind spun with fear and confusion, but beneath it all, a strange calm held steady, because Kaylin was here, because he wasn't letting her face this alone. What happens now? She whispered. For now, nothing will harm you. His gaze softened, carrying an unspoken promise. But things are accelerating faster than I expected. I need to show you something soon, something I've kept hidden. A quiet wind moved through the grass, brushing against them like a warning. But not tonight, he added, looking away as if listening to distant voices. The breach isn't stable. I cannot stay long. He began to step back toward the fading shimmer, but Vela reached forward instinctively, not touching him, just pleading through her voice. Please don't disappear again without telling me when you'll return. Kaylin froze, the faintest ache flickering across his expression. I'll find you, he said softly, soon, and when I do, everything will change. The shimmer pulled him in, swallowing his outline. And then he was gone. Vela stood in the quiet clearing, heart racing with fear, hope, and a rising sense of destiny. Something was coming. And whatever it was, she was no longer just a bystander. The next few days drifted by in a haze of unease. Vela went to work, logged the nightly readings, and tried to look calm, but inside, she felt like a string pulled too tight. Every hum of the scanners made her jump. Every flicker in the lights sent her pulse racing. She checked the northern ridge more times than she cared to admit, hoping for a shimmer, the faintest glow, anything that meant Kaylin was close. But the ridge stayed silent, and the silence felt heavier with each passing night. On the fourth evening, Vela stayed late at the station, staring at the grid monitors long after her shift ended. Everyone else had already gone home, leaving her with nothing but the soft buzz of equipment and her own spiraling thoughts. If something crossed that breach, she whispered, where is it now? Her questions circled endlessly, offering no answers. At last, she stood, grabbed her coat, and stepped outside into the cool night. Stars stretched across the sky in sweeping silver arcs, but instead of comfort, they brought her a sense of urgency, like time was slipping through her fingers without her knowing why. She walked the long path home, her boots crunching softly along the gravel. When she reached the footbridge where she last saw Kaylin, she paused. The wind was quiet. The air didn't hum. She exhaled shakily. Kaylin, I wish you were here. Hung in the air, gentle, vulnerable, true. A moment later, a soft glow flickered behind her. She gasped and turned instantly. Kaylin stood there. But something about him was different this time. His shoulders looked tense, his breathing uneven, and his gaze, usually calm and steady, held a storm of emotions she couldn't read. "You shouldn't be out alone," he said quietly. "Not tonight." Her heart leapt painfully at the urgency in his voice. "What happened?" Kaylin stepped closer, the glow around him pulsing like a heartbeat struggling to stay steady. "The breach is widening," he said, "faster than expected. I tried to hold it together from my side, but it's reacting to your signal." "My signal?" Vela whispered. "Yes." His voice softened, though the tension didn't leave his eyes. "You've been drawing the energy to you since long before you knew I existed." She shook her head, overwhelmed. "But I don't understand. Why me? What makes me connected to all of this?" For a long moment, Kaylin didn't answer. Then he lifted his hand and opened his palm, revealing a small, shimmering fragment of light, delicate and warm, like a tiny star captured in glass. "This," he said, "belongs to you." Vela stared at it in shock. "What is it?" "A remnant from the first convergence," he explained. "Something that drifted here years ago and fused with the nearest living presence, which was you." She blinked, stunned. "So this happened when I was a child?" He nodded. "You were very young, barely old enough to remember anything clearly, but that fragment attached itself to you, and ever since then, you've been sensing things others cannot. It made you important. It made you visible." Her breath trembled. "To you?" His expression shifted, softening in a way that made her heart ache. "Yes," he said quietly, "to me most of all." The wind rustled through the leaves around them, carrying a tender stillness. "Kaylin," she whispered, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" He looked away for a moment, as if searching the sky for strength. "Because I wasn't supposed to be the one guiding you. My role was only to watch, to protect from a distance. But the breach changed everything, and now that it's tied to your presence, you're in danger I can no longer shield you from alone." The glow around him dimmed for a second, as though reflecting his exhaustion. "What kind of danger?" Vela asked softly. Kaylin met her eyes, and the answer he held there made her chest tighten. "It's not just a force anymore," he said. "It's beginning to take form, and it's searching for the one who carries that fragment." Her pulse faltered. "You mean me?" "Yes." His voice broke slightly when he said it. A cold shiver crawled through Vela, but before fear could take over completely, Kaylin reached out, stopping just short of touching her hand. "You're not alone," he murmured. "I promise you that." The glow behind him flickered violently, like a warning signal. Kaylin turned sharply toward the ridge, his entire body tensing. "It's near," he whispered. "Not here yet, but close." He looked back at her, urgency sharpening his tone. "I need to take you somewhere safe, somewhere beyond what you know. But once we leave, there's no turning back." The air thickened between them, fear, hope, trust, and the ache of a decision she wasn't ready to face. Vela swallowed hard, her heart pounding. "Where would you take me?" she asked. Kaylin's voice softened to a trembling whisper. "To my world." And Vela's next choice would change everything. For a long moment, Vela couldn't speak. The world around her felt suspended, still, breathless, waiting for her answer. Kaylin stood only a few steps away, the glow behind him trembling with urgency. His expression held a quiet plea, not demanding, not pressing, just waiting, hoping. "My world?" she whispered. He nodded. There, the breach can't reach you, and you'll be able to understand everything the way it was meant to be understood. But if you agree, it will change your life in ways neither of us can predict." The night air stirred softly between them, brushing her hair across her cheek. Vela stared down at the shimmering fragment still floating above Kalen's palm. It pulsed gently, almost like it recognized her. Her whole life, she had felt a pull toward things she couldn't explain. The starlight, the quiet hums, the subtle patterns in the sky. She always thought it was just curiosity, a habit of noticing what others overlooked. But now she understood. She had been listening to something calling her all along. "What would happen if I stayed?" she asked quietly. Kalen's jaw tightened, the answer pained. "If you stay, the breach will find you, and the force that crossed, it will grow stronger by feeding on the connection you carry. I can only shield you for so long before it overwhelms everything around you." Her heart clenched. "So leaving is the only way to protect this place?" "For now," he murmured, "until we stabilize the convergence from my side." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was the truth. Silence stretched between them, heavy but tender. Finally, Vela lifted her eyes to him. "Will I be alone there?" His breath caught softly, as if her question struck something deep inside him. "No," he said, "you won't be alone." Something warm unfurled in her chest, gentle, fragile, hopeful. She stepped closer, only a single pace, but enough that she could see the faint shimmer in his eyes. "I don't understand everything yet," she admitted, "but I trust you. I trusted you even before I understood why." Kalen's composure cracked for a heartbeat, relief, gratitude, something quiet and vulnerable shining through. "You have no idea what those words mean to me," he whispered. Before she could respond, the ground trembled faintly beneath them. A low, pulsing vibration rippled through the air, carrying a coldness she felt deep in her bones. Vela gasped. "What was that?" Kalen turned sharply toward the ridge, eyes narrowing. "It's approaching faster than expected. We're out of time." The glow behind him expanded, forming a tall, wavering arc, a gateway shimmering like liquid starlight. The air hummed with growing tension, the breach's presence pressing closer with each passing second. Vela's breath shook, her heart raced, yet something inside her, something born of every strange moment in her life, felt calm. This was the moment everything had been leading her toward. Kalen extended his hand toward her, palm open, offering safety but not forcing a choice. "Vela," he said gently, "come with me." She looked at his hand for only a moment before stepping forward. Her fingers slid into his, warm and steady, grounding her in a way she didn't know she needed. The instant their hands touched, the fragment of light in his palm flared brightly, then dissolved into a soft glow that settled around her like a warm embrace. "What just happened?" she whispered. "It recognized you fully," Kalen murmured. "It's part of you now, and it will protect you as much as I will." The vibration from the ridge surged again, louder, sharper, undeniable. A distant shadow flickered along the tree line, almost shapeless, but pulsing with intent. Kalen tightened his grip on her hand. "It's time," he said. Vela drew a steady breath, looked once more at the familiar world around her, the sky she studied, the bridge where everything changed, the quiet town that never knew what lingered above it. Then she stepped with Kalen into the shimmering light. For a moment, the world folded around them, weightless and warm. Colors she had never seen drifted past like soft currents. The hum she had always felt in her chest blossomed outward, connecting her to something vast and gentle. And then they emerged onto a landscape unlike anything she had imagined, swirling with silver fields stretched beneath a twilight sky, swirling with constellations that moved like living rivers. Towers of glowing crystal rose in the distance, resonating with harmonies that vibrated gently through her bones. Vela stared, overwhelmed with awe. "This," she breathed, "this is your home?" Kaylin turned to her, expression calm for the first time in days. "It's ours now, Vela, and together we'll set things right." A quiet warmth filled her chest, not just hope, but belonging. For the first time, she understood that every strange moment, every hum, every flicker had been guiding her toward this. Toward him. Toward the truth. Toward a future she never saw coming, but one she no longer feared. Hand in hand, they stepped into the silver-lit horizon, ready to face whatever came next.